Okay.
Hi, my name's Peggy Oberthier. I'm a medical intuitive based in Melbourne, Australia. My beautiful guest today is Sabrina Sundari. She finished the mentorship not too long ago and has just joined the Medical Intuitive Directory. She helps people reconnect with their intuition, build resilience, and access their inner wisdom through somatic therapy, hypnotherapy, and medical intuition. By working with the body's innate intelligence and the subconscious mind, she guides individuals to release deep-seated trauma, restore nervous system resilience, and cultivate a profound sense of trust. As a medical intuitive, somatic therapist, and hypnotherapist, she supports transformative healing that empowers and aligns the body, mind, and spirit. Welcome to the show, Sabrina.
Thank you so much, Peggy.
It's so nice to have you here. We've just been sitting in this beautiful energy before we started to record. We probably could have sat
Yeah.
there for a bit longer. I met you a few months ago. I think you booked a session with me, which was so amazing. I was blown away by your energy. And I was thinking to myself, how am I going to help you? You're amazing. And then you did the mentorship. So tell us a little bit about how you came to discover the mentorship and this whole crazy world of medical intuition.
So I used to be really into watching all kinds of galactic stuff on YouTube. I went through like a big era of it. And then I hit a point where I'm like, something, I was really into one particular channeler, and I suddenly felt like everything was fake that was being said. And I was just like, is everything fake? And I stopped kind of that whole realm. And prior to that, I had studied QHHT, quantum hypnosis healing technique, the Dolores Cannon method. That's how I got into my start in hypnotherapy. So after this kind of closure of this interest, I just went into regular life. Like I re-entered like just ho-hum regular life. And I had put all that aside. And then one day I was watching like YouTube, and this video popped up with a thumbnail. And it was a topic I'd never probably watched because I was like kind of done with all that. But I saw Patrice's face in the thumbnail, and something was like shoop, and I was like, I have to watch this. And if his picture was not there, I probably wouldn't have watched it based on the title. But something about his picture made me click, and I just was enthralled by this whole conversation they were having, him telling his story, and I kind of just went down this loophole of watching all of this stuff, and my whole body was like pinging and buzzing, and I was getting an immediate yes, like whatever this is, you need to go there. Um, so just looked at his website, and my intuition was telling me this mentorship was for me. I signed up, and the next day he started the mentorship, and I was in the mentorship, and um, it was really challenging, but it was really good. Like I was committed, so I woke up at 3 a.m. for the first call, and then noon for the next call the same day on Sunday. So I was like really in it, and it was an incredible experience because it was the first time I really felt like we were all like I sat there the first session, and this woman looks at me and she's like, "I know you."
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh," and Patrice said, "Yeah, you guys know each other from a past life." And it felt true for me. It felt like I knew everybody on the screen. And the healing and the confidence and just people believing in me made a huge difference. Just like, Sabrina, you can do it. You can do it. I just needed that space holding and that belief. And I really amazed myself with what happened in that mentorship. And afterwards, I was invited to join the medical intuitive directory as well.
Wow. So, for the viewers who don't know, Patrice Christofiak is a very skilled medical intuitive, and we have both completed his mentorship. And if you scroll down on this YouTube channel, you'll see a few interviews that I have done with him. So, I was part of the first mentorship, and Sabrina, you in that back last year, and you just finished it. So, tell me, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you found challenging, and what was your background prior to going in. So, because it's really interesting. If you'd had all this experience, you'd trained with Dolores, like what was challenging about the mentorship?
So I trained in Dolores's program. Unfortunately, she died by the time I joined. But I've always been interested in like psychics and ghosts and the whole mystery of beyond what we see here. So my ancestry, my grandfather and everyone before him was the village medicine man. So I have this shamanic DNA that I never accessed because it kind of ended with my father. He chose a different path. So I feel like I came here with this like mystery that I could see there was something else other than what's here. And so I started watching like when I was a kid, it was like alien shows and like all kinds of things that weren't real, ghost stuff and unsolved mysteries. Like I was really interested in the unseen and the unknown. And as a teenager, got really into psychics and like magic and just everything that was interesting like that. In my 20s, I was obsessed with psychics. I would see any psychic that I could, like 20 psychics. I would just, and I just loved it. I was addicted to psychics. Yeah. To the point where it became dangerous because I wasn't trusting myself, right? I was constantly seeking outside. So it was a big lesson that I had to go through. But I then studied under a psychic and I spent, I think 9 months with her in a program. And then I did 2 more years with different teachers of clairvoyance. I was really interested in like seeing. I knew there was something beyond what's here. Um, and that was my background just as a clairvoyant. So I had private clients that saw me. I wasn't very public about it. And as life does, the QHHT, the quantum hypnosis came through, and then clinical hypnosis came through. And while I was in clinical hypnosis, I noticed that people were often just holding stuff in their system. It wasn't mind, it was where is it in the body? And that was what the solution was for most people. So then I studied somatic therapy, somatic experiencing, which is a 3-year program. And through that, it's like, okay, now I've figured out the nervous system is my key to making myself more intuitive and unlocking the sight and the clairvoyance. I cannot read from a dysregulated or stressed or traumatized body. And so I developed this business called the Body Oracle from that. So when I joined Patrice's program, I came with subconscious work through hypnotherapy, the somatic work through the body, and the clairvoyance through the unseen. And I sort of just wanted to figure out how could I figure it all out. Like I'd hired all these business coaches. I couldn't figure out what am I? How do I piece it all together? People are like, what do you do? I'm like, I don't know. I just do things and then people feel better. And Patrice really helped me in the mentorship to like figure out like what exactly it is that I have to offer. So that was what I came with and I left with a really good result.
That's such an incredible story. And I love your addiction to psychics because I can fully relate to that. And I'm sure that a lot of our audience members can do that as well. It's like you're constantly seeing, and there's a lot of psychics that just, they're not telling you the right things. They can throw you down some crazy paths, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a really interesting experience. The reason I switched off from them is because I saw a psychic that was very accurate, but then she started telling me things that actually took me off my path. And this was a
Mm.
woman she liked to wear like black and like very witchy. And just, everyone can have psychic abilities. And I think how you apply them makes a difference. And I've also noticed that some people see things, but they're seeing like the lower astral realm. They're seeing things that entities want them to see. And they don't realize that they might have the best intentions. But what the message you're receiving is not true. It's what other beings want you to see.
Mm.
So this is what I experienced multiple times actually. And this one woman, I started seeing her all the time, like about this relationship that I was in. I'm like, this relationship, what's going on? She's like, no, this is your person. She's like, he's 87% your soulmate. And there's like, you can't do better than 87%. So just go with this guy. And it was such a terrible relationship, but she kept convincing me. She's like, no, this is the one, this is the one. And I stayed way too long because I'd go to her and say there's a problem. She's like, no, he's the one, he's the one. So it caused a ton of damage in my psyche, right? Like being in a terrible relationship for a long time. And then that was my wake up call to be like, stop trusting outside yourself. You knew it wasn't right and you listened to an external source and you really went off path.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me, how did you then get to the point of being able to trust your own intuition? Because a lot of people, and I really love the way that you pointed that stuff out about the lower astral, because I think the last psychic I went to, I was like, she is not connected. She's connected to this wonky, connection. But and they're beautiful, like they're like lovely, heart-centered people. They don't realize. But anyway, that's another story aside. So how did you start to trust your own intuition? How did that happen for you? Because I feel like so many people, they sit and they meditation and they want to hear messages. They want to, like, what was the process for you?
Mm. So through the training that I received, I had to go through all the ways that you can trust your intuition, like pendulum work, reading cards, um, even clairvoyantly, like just waiting, as you said, and trying to create a reading screen and waiting for images to show up. But even then, you can project your own creation, your own imagination into what you want. You can keep pulling cards till you get the answer you want. There's even some evidence that the pendulum can be influenced with your mind and with your intent. It's not just the field providing the answer. So outside tools, I had to throw them away. And I had to learn. So outside people know, outside tools know, and what I was left with was myself. And I'm not the person that's going to sit on a mat for an hour and meditate. I'm just not never going to do it. I have too much of a wandering mind and a busy spirit. And I I just kind of was reading a lot, and I really honed in on the teachers who said, you're if you know how to read your body, that's all you need. It's like we're trained to read our mind and trust our brain, but the heart, mind, and the gut brain are not included. We don't even consult all three centers. So when I started consulting my other centers, like my heart, it took me a year and a half to access my heart because my heart felt yucky. It felt like dark, not in like an evil way, just like unpleasant. I was storing a lot of things in my heart. So when people were like, tune into your heart, read from your heart, it didn't want to do it. And then with the gut, I have like a pretty big childhood trauma history. So even my gut, I couldn't trust, right? Because I already had like the constriction and the anxiety and I'm holding a lot of things. So with the how I learned to read through my body was by clearing my body first. So seeing the people that could clear the trauma, clear the nervous system so that the channels could flow. So ideally, all three centers are connected, the messages are flowing in and out. There's even the concept of like all the messages you're receiving in your mind, you want to digest them in your body, process them, and then you understand them. It's not like drop in, I get it. It's drop in, descend, digest, and then the awareness comes. I feel like I went off track. Did that answer your question?
I think it did, but yeah, I love that explanation. I also wanted to go back because you mentioned in the mentorship it helped you hone and really understand what your gifts are. So,
Mm.
obviously tuning into your body and having this self-awareness is one of your gifts. It's a gift, isn't it? So tell me, what are the things that you discovered about yourself through the mentorship that help you just solidify and feel more confident in your abilities? Because you have a huge list of trainings. Like I was like, wow, Sabrina's done so much. And you are and I've had you on sessions and you've supported me with clients, and it's like you're extraordinarily powerful. But tell us exactly what you do with clients or what your gifts are to help people.
Yeah. I think the first question you asked me was, how did I learn to manage this through mentorships? Excuse me. So to go to that, I think that was a really interesting question. So Patrice was very like firm. He's very firm with people. So he taught me how to come further into my system and my body and reading. He would be like, Sabrina, you're not breathing properly. Why aren't you breathing? Like constantly bringing awareness to the fact that I wasn't doing it right. And he was correct because he said the mantra that I'm supposed to be repeating is something along the lines of, like, I own my breath belongs to me. Because when you don't own your breathing, then you become vulnerable and other things can start to come in. We have to be fully like nourishing our system, embodying our system. So as soon as he started saying that, things flowed much better with the people that we were seeing, the clients, and he was correct. Like energy can't flow unless we're breathing. So that's the biggest lesson I learned from him. And even when I'm out in public now and I feel like my breath is short, I'll notice like there's something or somebody around that feels not correct for me. And my body is trying to protect me by holding my breath and not taking it in. So it's actually not what needs to happen. What needs to happen is I need to own my breath, and my breath belongs to me, and there's no constriction or fear, and I just own my space in my system. So that was the biggest one I got from him.
That is
Mm.
an amazing piece of advice. I actually use that a lot with some of my clients because it's so, I mean, especially when you're out in public, right? Just continuously go back to breath, saying that
Yeah.
it's your own breath. Yeah,
Yeah.
so important.
Mm.
And the next question was, so how else did you, you said I really discovered my gifts through the mentorship and really had a better understanding of what I do. So how would you
Mm.
like to describe that?
Okay. Well, what came through um, the work there is that, so the problem I was having is I was efforting too much. And Patrice would often say, like, stop trying to see, stop trying so much. If I just stay in my heart space, which I had to learn to do as well, I didn't know what that means. Like, it's such a strange thing to say, stay in your heart space. What does that mean? So I had to learn that in the mentorship. And all it is just dropping out of your mind and letting yourself descend in and just be here. And when I do that, I notice my thoughts just naturally settle and I feel very big here, like present here. And everything just feels light and nothing seems to matter much anymore. And the judgment and even the self-judgment goes away. So in the sessions, he taught us like stay in your heart space and breathe and smile. It's basically like three steps for me. And through that, people would just have all these experiences. And it was just me being present. And by being present, I would be able to see much just and naturally. I'm not, so my training was create this whole space, get into the state, see this certain thing. And I had to almost untrain myself from the formal training and just be myself. And people would say, Sabrina, what do you see in this person? And I'd say, I see this, 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 this. And it was just like looking to the side and just seeing it. It was just instant, natural. Like there's no effort. And that's what I learned. No effort, just be.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I absolutely love that. It's such an
Mhm.
important reminder because what I'm hearing is it and what I'm feeling, and I can get goosebumps when you're talking, is that this you're raising your own frequency and vibration just by settling into the essence of who you are, which is this high vibrational being wanting to support from your heart space in this like unconditional love. So it's like when you're at that space, breathing for yourself, then yeah, the messages come in. So that's what yeah, incredible. So how does the session work for you with your clients?
Mhm.
What is your process besides obviously those beautiful steps that you do?
Yes. So everyone is different. I really tune into the person and see where they're at. Some people, so my basis is in somatic therapy, like a nervous system work. So often people will just sit in front of me and they'll start talking and I'll be attuning to them and I can feel. So, for example, I had somebody last week and I said, are you feeling a tightness on the left side of your abdomen? Because I was feeling it. And then because he was talking about some issue he had, that he became aware of his body sensation. And he's like, oh yeah, I wasn't aware that I was feeling this. I feel this. And then we had the chance to go into what the energy was being held there. My approach is a bit different than the traditional approach that I see in the mentorship, which is we're doing something for someone, we're being a channel for someone. That is part of mine, but I like to make other people feel like they're the healer, which they are. And we do that by letting them feel and guiding them to the spot, letting them process what's theirs, see what's there, that feel what's there. Because I'd love for them to walk away from working with me, being able to tune in on their own, not be dependent on anyone, just like I had to learn not be dependent, right? For them to say, I feel funny or I feel this way, and have the tools and the experience to process and heal themselves. Yeah, that's my ultimate goal. I always tell people when they see me, my goal is to get you out of therapy, to like get you to a point where you're resilient, confident, happy, easeful. That's my goal.
I absolutely love that. That is, yeah, I think that's really the how I feel about working with clients as well, is that you're trying to help them build the capacity and the tools to have just to be more self-compassionate and allow what's showing up for them just to be there. Because so how is the body How is the body telling us what we need to do?
Hmm. So I always say like the body informs the psyche and the psyche informs the body. So when you listen to so if somebody's really in their head and they can't think of what's like, what should I do? Why do I feel so tired? It's because I notice like all of their energies in their head, right? One of my teachers once said, we get 100 points of energy a day. You could spend 80% in your head, but you should really do like pretty even through your whole body. So your whole body's nourished and energized. So maybe 10, 20%, but not all your energy in your head. So I help people get that energy down below the neck and into where things are being held. So usually when I guide people into that, it just takes a few minutes. Usually an emotion will happen because they'll notice like, wow, there's this space for what I've been constricting in my breath, what I've been bracing for to like come to the surface. And I say, trauma held in the body, like stuff held in the body is like ice. It's constricting, it's tight, it doesn't feel good. But when we release, it's like ice melting. And then ice melting is water, right? It's emotion coming out, it's softening and energy moving, liquid moving. So that analogy is where's constriction in your body? Whenever there's constriction, energy is not moving, life isn't moving in the way it should. So it's tightness in the belly, it's like a weird sensation in the leg, any sort of feeling in your body that feels like it's not clear and calm and easeful is something we can explore. And that usually has a correlation to a pattern held from your childhood, something happened, and we just go back and clear it together through like a brief hypnosis journey that's very conversational and gentle, bringing people into their body and clearing what they're holding on to.
So do you have to know what the emotion is to be able to clear it?
Um, my whole theory and the way I was trained in somatic experiencing is that the content doesn't matter. You've already lived the whole thing. You don't have to relive it and know exactly what happened. All that matters is that it's gone. And then we can move on to the next beautiful experience of life, right? As soon as we start digging it up, I know that in the mentorship, often it was said like, you don't need to tell people their whole past lives and all of the stuff, the horrible things that you see that they've gone through. It's never helpful. What's helpful for them is to know like there's somebody here to support you and also we can clear it and what's next in life? Let's move on.
Yeah, it's so true. People really get stuck on that story and then they just wear it as a badge of honor, like I was killed and no wonder
Yeah.
I'm like that. So it's very, yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like if you mention it, it can be comic relief. Like it's like, if the guides are telling me, you can tell the details, but it's normally just to have a bit of a laugh about something. But, you're right. I think the details are never really important. So your process when you're guiding them through it, what are some of the actual physical techniques to help release that stored energy in the body? What are some of the somatic practices that you do besides so there's the hypnotherapy. Are they moving? Are they shaking? Or what are the somatic practices?
Yeah, so there's that kind of somatic therapy where you're introducing tools and sort of forcing a process, in my opinion, like shaking or like doing
Mm,
something. I like to listen to your body and let your body tell me what it needs. And maybe it's no movement, maybe it just needs presence and holding and breath. And through that, it's amazing what will come out. A lot of the time, I tell people when we have something that we're working through, we're not trying to make it bad or wrong, and we're not trying to change it. As soon as we give it that energy, it starts to constrict because things don't want to change, right?
mm.
So we just be with it. We're present, we're conscious, we're not making it bad or wrong. And it immediately almost starts to shift and open and move. Just the acceptance of it being there. It came for a reason, usually, right? There are like obviously outside entities and intrusions, but some of the things that we're working with are also just things that we've created throughout our lives. Mhm.
Yeah. So do you work with entities as well? How does that work for your practice?
I believe that a lot of entities manifest as thought forms. So when I bring people into the body, often I say, tell me if a memory or a thought is coming up, and a thought will be looping already. And I'm like, is that thought does it feel like yours or not? Is it inside or outside your body? And then it helps them to map that it's not them. And then there's a few protocols like, uh, if it feels right, I'll talk to that being, we'll talk to it and try to understand it because Honestly, I believe that you get an attachment usually because there's something inside you that's available for it. There's
Mm.
some wound that resonates with it, right? So what if we just keep clearing things every day and more things just keep coming to that wound? But what if we also just go under and clear the wound? So bringing awareness to it and clearing it out, just
Yeah.
that is the protection. And that's why we came here. We came here to have soul correction, to learn. If somebody
Mm.
comes and like has just does everything for you, I don't know what that does to those lessons. I feel like we need to learn on some level.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's exactly how I see it now. Like I feel like when when I'm tuning in, you can see that there is like this, inner critic bastard or whatever you want to call it, this sort of like looping mind saying that I'm not allowed to not judge myself or I'm not allowed. But once you clear that, what then the messages that come in, it's really like, oh, actually there's this, shame from when you're six or something that's like, so let's just allow that to be there. Let's just acknowledge and not judge and just have that client feel compassion for that, you know,
Exactly.
an acceptance for that particular incident. And then I think because it's always multi-layered, the entity will just keep coming in unless you deal with that 3D trauma, that's stored in the body. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
it's a
With that
very
example, so go ahead, what were you saying?
no, you go ahead.
Yeah, with that example of the 6-year-old that you gave, we would do in the process is use some hypnotherapy techniques to go back to, and it's very quick to go talk to that kid. And what's actually happens is that kid is usually like a soul fragment. So there needs to be retrieval of that kid who left because things were too hard, too much, right? Too much trauma. So it's not just working with the present shame, it's also restoring the soul through pulling them back into their body. Yeah. So ideally, you're fully integrated. You have your inner child in you. You have all the fragments back in your system that have been slowly displaced through being here, being on this earth.
So how do you work with people that are so traumatized they're not in their body? Like, how, yeah, that's quite a common trauma response of just having no connection. And I used to see that when I was doing my EFT tapping, and I'd say, where do you have that? Do you notice that in your body? They'd say, no. And then it's like it's like a zero connection. How does it work for you in your process?
Yeah. You're right. It's pretty common. It's because it's something may have happened that made it safe to be popped out. Like
Mm.
something physical may have happened and your body was like, it's better for you to just not be here for this. And then if we have this chronic trauma, for example, we just get conditioned to be out of our body. I was actually out of my body for most of my life. I'd say in my 20s, I met a lot of people that helped me. But it's kind of nice being out of the body. Like you're just kind of floaty and a little spacey and yeah, nothing really can feels that hurtful, especially if you're empathic or very highly sensitive. It's really nice to be out of your body. So when people see me and they like are ready to come back in because they're like, it causes a lot of problems, as you know.
Mm.
We cannot force it. The body has to trust us. And so I'm not pushing you into your body. What we're doing is just being with the numbness. Numbness is everything all at once. It's like the color black. It's all the colors at once, so much that you feel numb. So can we just be with feeling of numbness and just not make it wrong or bad? It happened because it needed to, right?
Yeah.
And then I might introduce again, more hypnotherapy. So talking about what they're going through, what does that remind you of? When did that first happen? And then go into the time when the incident happened that caused them to pop out, do the soul correction, bring the soul back. And it's a process. Usually things start to feel safe in the body and then the soul can come back in. Mhm.
Incredible. That's so incredible.
Yeah.
I love that full acceptance of the human experience exactly where you're at. I just love that. And I think expand on that a little bit more as a process, around spiritual awakening or accessing your gifts or becoming who you are. Like, how do you see that as relevant?
So The reason I stopped QHHT, quantum hypnosis, is because I noticed that many people wanted to see me to explore their galactic, their past lives, but they weren't interested in working on the issues in their current life, right? So there was just, so everything had a reason beyond their current life. And all these people wanted to do ascension and like go galactic traveling and astral traveling. Nobody wanted to do the dishes and like be here, just live our life. And like, I'm like, no, you got to break up with your terrible boyfriend. You got to like, start doing life stuff. You got to be here. You came here for a reason, right? If you didn't come here for a body, why are you like, why don't you just, why did you come here? You came here. So I stopped doing that because I wanted people to like descend into the body. You descend to ascend. If you're fully in your system, you fully own it, you cleared it, become this clear channel, this clear vessel, everything else just unfolds. You're automatically connected. You become the vibration that matches everything you're trying to receive. If you pop out of the body, there's no chamber, there's no vessel to hold any of it. So that's how I feel it's connected.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like they're constantly trying to seek outside of themselves the
Yeah,
solution. Like, can you help me can you clear my blocks so I can get my gifts? It's like, oh, actually the clearing the blocks is you doing the work of sitting in the shadows and the trauma and allowing it
mm,
just to be there rather than squashing it down. Yeah.
I agree.
It's hard work.
Right. Yeah, I do like the approach that Patrice often talks about because he's saying like new children are born without karma now, new babies.
Mm.
And so why don't we just clear our stuff now? Why continue? Why suffer? So there is that school of thought which I really also highly value and appreciate. But the part of me that's realizing we came here to be human for at this time for a reason, and this is part of the experience of being human, like being in the muck and learning and feeling and growing. So let's have the human experience and the beautiful ascension experience together. How do we have the full ride? We paid for the full ride, right?
Exactly. I love that. It is. I think I'm constantly yeah, going back to the human experience. Like it is, we came here to feel fear. We came here to feel anxiety and sadness and so we have to actually allow our bodies to just tune into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you see a lot of spiritual bypass and have you personally ever done any spiritual bypass? Like what is your own
Yeah.
personal journey?
Yes, I would say I am guilty of it, and so are many people. And
Yeah.
it's so tempting. Like, why not just think everything's great and like beautiful? And I think that's a lovely way to be. But the problem is that, think of a pool of water. If we're just floating above the pool, looking at the clouds and the beautiful breeze and the butterflies, under the pool that's stagnant, it's like the muck and the bacteria and the algae. It's like very deceptive because the surface feels very calm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we get brutally brought back down to the muck when we're spending too much time in that spiritual bypass of like, so surrender is what then?
Hmm. Surrender is like in terms of the spiritual bypass or
Well,
just
what
in
is
general?
like to fully surrender into the human
Yeah.
experience? What because it's sort of like there's people that want to surrender to like, oh, the beautiful things that's life, like surrender to the beauty, surrender to love, and then but
Yeah.
for me, it's
Okay.
like surrender. Yeah. Anyway, tell me what you believe surrender
Yeah.
to be.
I just want to finish that previous about bypass. 'Cause
Yeah.
what I see, but the other reason is it's important to not do it is because if you just focus on the good and you hide your shadow or suppress your shadow, it will be projected onto other people. And then that projection will come back to you in terms of arguments, disruptions, like not a nice life. So you can pretend, but that there's some balance in the world all the time and you'll get it back to you. So what I say surrender for me is, first of all, really hard. I like to have control. And I also feel like maybe surrender is a part of a spiritual bypass too, because I feel like we do need to protect ourselves. We can't be fully trusting and open. It's a very dangerous realm that we're in, right? We always have to, hold ourselves to some level of care. And so that's my challenge with the word surrender. Yeah. How do you receive that?
Yeah, I feel like surrender, it's an ongoing battle because there's, for me personally, surrender is allowing just what is to be here.
Hmm.
And that, because we're always trying to change or move forward or like manifest or, it's kind of like we struggle with the what is right now. So every day, it's like breathe, be, trust, allow every range of human emotion to be there. It's like, because we're so used to going, okay, hang on, I'm feeling contracted. Well, I shouldn't feel contracted because um I've got all these great things and I trust that it's going to happen. And it's like, well, the first step for me is like, okay, well, what is it am I feeling in that contraction? What is it in my, I'm feeling a bit sad. Okay. But I can just allow that sadness to leave. It doesn't have to, or just allow it. And then just by tuning into it, my heart can expand and I can just be in the moment. But I'm fully trusting that that is showing up in my body for a reason and I have to just process it. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Does that?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's like it is hard. And when you're waiting for your gifts to activate or you're waiting for like things to happen, like businesses and offerings and clients and all that stuff, it's like you still have to do stuff, right? You have to be part of the 3D
Yeah.
system.
I
And
agree.
yeah, we could just float off in that beautiful energy all day and just hope it for it to come, but you've got to do stuff about your website and you
Yes,
know
exactly.
go on podcasts and stuff like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it is a bit of a challenge, yeah. That whole surrender plus being wanting to be in like this 5D and then going, oh, 3D stuff. Oh, I've got to do my taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about the bypass. It reminds me of what we were talking about, like that muck under the water. If you leave it there, again, you become a resonance match for the dark stuff, the entities. That's why we should not spiritual bypass
Mm,
or fully surrender. I feel like, yeah, like I was thinking even going to like plant medicine ceremonies, like group meditations. There's always something that we got to be careful of. Like other people's energy is contagious if we aren't
mm.
protected and aren't strong in ourselves, like fully embodied in our body. If you're fully embodied, there's no room for other things to come in and make a house, like a squatter, right?
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, actually. I think that it's a very strong. The higher your vibration, the truer you are to yourself, your heart space, that unconditional love, the less likely you are going to have, hitchhikers
Yeah,
or any of those lower astral beings coming in to tell you different things.
I agree.
So, and I
And
think
one
the
thing,
the fear of having those things can also create the condition for you to get them. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's so true. Yeah.
So is there
And with
anything?
surrender in like Patrice's mentorship, I did have to learn the hard way to surrender because you become very physically uncomfortable if you don't let the energy move.
Mm,
Like suppressing a burp, for example, like however you move energy, if you don't let it happen, you will just get this congestion. Actually, I have an interesting story. Like one time I woke up with this huge bubble on my neck after a session. And I asked Patrice when I was in the mentorship, like, I can't sleep. I have like I'm in a lot of pain with this neck thing. What happened? And he said, when you are in session, you're receiving a lot of messages. And if you don't let them out, if you don't say them, they get stuck in your body, your channels. And so this was a big lump of energy. He's like, just say what you didn't say. And I said it, I just like to myself in the mirror, I just let it out of my body and the bump went away right away. It
oh,
was trapped energy. Yeah.
that is so incredible. If people had any idea about the power of that, just not speaking your truth or not sitting with what you're supposed to say, or yeah, any idea if people had any idea that there'd be hardly any issues with throats and necks and
I agree.
shoulders. Yeah. So that's beautiful that you support people on their journey. Is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with about anything that we haven't spoken about today?
No, I feel very complete. Yes, I do want to say if people are interested in some things I've said, I have free meditations online that you can find, and you can also book a consultation with me on my website, and I'd love to meet you.
Oh, fantastic. That was my next question, which is how can we contact you? So yeah. So you do one-on-ones, and you've got your free meditations. Is there anything else in the pipeline?
There are things in the pipeline. I'm thinking of, I really like the idea of community and sharing in groups. And so that's my vision for the future. But right now, I like to give people one-on-one care and attention.
I love it. And you're based in Canada? Just
Yeah, in Toronto. Yes.
fantastic. Okay.
I have
But
a clinic.
you
Yeah,
do
I have a
in
clinic.
person?
Yeah, I have an office and I also do mostly online most of the time all over the world.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Sabrina, it has been such a joy to connect with you and hear your full story because we were so busy in the sessions, we haven't really just sat and listened to your full story. So it's been wonderful. And I hope the listeners are equally as impressed with your incredible heart space and resonance.
Thank you so much, Peggy. It was a pleasure.